What is going on, guys? Welcome back to High Floor Football. My name is Sam Wagman. I am your host. And with me, as always, we took a week off last week, but we are back this week. With me, as always, is my faithful co-host and fellow Philly sports fan in his lovely, very loud shirt today. I like it. I like it, Jay. What's going on, man? How you doing this week?
Thanks, man. I'm doing well. It's the summertime. Thought I'd bring out the Hawaiian shirt. We're having Dave on special occasion, so I'm good. I'm happy to have him on. As something that was gonna happen soon enough. So I'm happy to kick it off with him.
Yeah, man, I'm thrilled, and yes, like we said, Dave, we are absolutely thrilled to have you on. Why don't you go ahead, tell everyone where they can find you, what you're working on, and all your favorite things about best ball. Just kidding.
Yeah, I mean it's super simple nowadays. When I was doing shows this time last year, it was you can find me here on this day and here on this day and writing here and doing stuff here but now it's all just over at Footballguys. You can find me on Twitter at Dave Kluge. All my written and video content is at footballguys.com. So nice and easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to, do this. Like, I was watching your Football Guys best ball show earlier. It's great to see that all these sites are starting to really dig into the best ball scene, when last summer was really only, one or two sites that really did it outside of Underdog themselves. And now we have all these sites getting into it, and it's really becoming a phenomenon. It's really becoming something you can do every day, because it started out as just a way to kind of mock draft for a little bit of cash, but now with all the things that Underdog does, there's so many cool things, all the money that you can win as well, in the Best Ball Mania 3, where you can win $2 million. All that kind of stuff is absolutely nuts. But tonight we are here drafting a $3 12-man, sit and go, nice and easy little thing. So we are in here. I have the 106, Jay has the 109, and Dave has the 110. So we're going to go along, draft our teams, and we'll talk things through as the draft goes along. We'll ask Dave about some of his strategies, whether he wants to give things away to you or be selective in what he shares is, again, up to him as well. But
I'm an open book. I have more fun helping other people win their leagues than I do winning leagues myself. I mean, trust me, if I've spent my entire offseason basically pumping up every single one of my guys like it's freaking Dogecoin. That's what I do.
And that is the mark of a very good analyst, ladies and gentlemen, is a guy who's not as worried about himself winning as he is about helping everyone else. You want a way to succeed in this industry, that's the best way to do it. I went ahead and drafted Jamar Chase because for one of the first times this season, I saw him fall to the 106. Pretty easy for me there. And, a nice way to get this draft started.
Jay, talk me through Davante Adams over Dalvin Cook.
I was actually hoping for Stephon Diggs. I was planning to start with a little bit of the wide receivers. When Stephon Diggs went, I was looking, I wanted Davante Adams over the CeeDee Lamb, over Mike Evans. So I just wanted to start this one with wide receiver. So I did go with Davante Adams, and, we'll see what comes of it. I'm hoping there's some things up my sleeve later on.
Man, I just feel like Dalvin Cook, I've got more exposure to him than any guy getting drafted in the first round. I just can't help myself from drafting him. I feel like his upside is so immense, and he's going late first round.
Ooh, but I did want DeAndre Swift to get to me, and now he's gone. So here we go.
I love Dalvin Cook because I legitimately think, and I put a tweet out on this the other day, I legitimately think there's a chance we see, with Kevin O'Connell running that offense on instead of stale Mike Zimmer, I think we could see Dalvin and Justin Jefferson finish as the wide receiver and running back ones at their position. So
I think for Justin Jefferson, but the one thing, and I just talked about this on the last show that I was on, is Kevin O'Connell, he does a little bit more of a committee approach. What we've seen from Dalvin Cook in the Mike Zimmer era is pretty unprecedented, to see a guy that really just gets all of the touches. It's like Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey. That's basically it. So you got to hope that Kevin O'Connell sticks with it. And with how talented Dalvin Cook is, he could, but there's also a chance that Madison maybe gets a little bit of meat. Who knows?
And you love when this happens. I went with Saquon with my second pick. Josh Cho comes in. No, I wanted Barkley. You love when that happens in the chat, no matter what. Even though I love Josh, but Come up with a dad joke for that, Josh. I dare you.
Dude, Saquon was getting drafted in the 3rd and 4th round like
Yeah.
a month ago, and now here he is finally going where he should in the mid to
He
early
finally
second.
got
He takes off his shirt,
finally got
flexes
pumped.
for us a little bit, and he climbs back up into the
Oh
second.
yeah, that makes sense. It all correlates. We always look for correlation in best ball drafts. There's your correlation. Saquon posted the shirtless pictures yesterday. It all makes sense now.
You know what I want to point out though? DeAndre Swift, Saquon Barkley, Aaron Jones, Leonard Fournette, all gone before 207. I shared my rankings not too long ago. All of those guys were inside my top 10, and I got so much heat for having those guys inside my top 10. At the time, they were all going 3rd, 4th, 5th round, and here they are now, getting the recognition they deserve in the early second. Love to see it.
Yeah, it absolutely is great, and especially Aaron Jones, who I think should be going much higher than 206. Honestly, I mean, you guys know how I feel about him. I think there's a great chance that Aaron Jones could finish, as also a dark horse RB1 overall candidate. So, could definitely see something happen there with that.
Yeah, I'm very high on Aaron Jones this year as well, so I haven't disagreed with you on that point.
It's nice for me to get Leonard Fournette at the 207 there at the end of that run. Not a bad consolation prize for missing out on Aaron Jones, and kind of the last of that tier that I'm in there. Ooh, decision time.
Let's see.
We've been seeing it a lot lately. Mike Williams going well ahead of Keenan Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think people do. I think people do that because, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk about as my pick Keenan Allen goes off the board, which makes me just go to take my safety pick at 302.
That's what I was hoping was going to get back to me in 2 picks. Kyle Pitts.
But I definitely think people think Mike Williams, with his spike weeks that we've seen, profiles to be a little bit of a better fit, in best ball. I think, the consistency of Keenan Allen, while not to be undervalued, definitely, people don't see spike weeks for him. But I think both of them, if you expect Justin Herbert to be the QB2 or, where he's being drafted this year, I think you have to assume that both Williams and Allen are going to be solid, if not locked in wide receiver 1 / very high 2 options.
And Dave's on the clock.
Someone's been watching Dave's page there, sniping Travis Etienne ahead of him.
I actually had no idea that, but I had a line in my head already. I was going to say, call it a reach. I don't care. I'm picking Etienne there.
I mean, my plan was going to start Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Swift, Travis Etienne, and then I was just going to be completely done with running back. So you just threw a big old wrench in my plan.
I'm happy that it happened.
Stud.
Yeah, starting off getting Devontae Adams, I'm happy I was able to come back and get Barkley and Etienne.
Yeah, I think Etienne is going to prove a lot of people wrong. I think we pumped his value up very high, and I think this is right around where he should be going. But I mean, what do you guys think are the likely terms, outcomes for Travis Etienne? Is he a guy that puts up, 900 on the ground and 700 through the air? Dave, what's your take on that?
900 on the ground is a little bit steep, especially with James Robinson expected to be back sooner rather than later. But I mean, this guy is just going to be a check down machine. He basically checks every single box that DeAndre Swift checked last year when everyone fell in love with him in the offseason. It's a bad offense. He's the passing down back. He's got a good rapport with his quarterback, which isn't something DeAndre Swift had. So yeah, I mean, I think that obviously there's some risk there that he doesn't bounce back fully from that Liz Frank fracture, but his ceiling is sky high with that pass catching profile.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that there. You went Deontay Johnson there. Any worry from the Mitch Trubisky end of things?
Yeah, a ton of worry, but there's no other good running backs or wide receivers available. I'm not sold on Terry McLaurin as much as I love Allen Robinson. I've got a 40% exposure on him right now, and I need to pump the brakes a little bit. DK Metcalf's another guy that I've been going all out on. So when you do hundreds of drafts like I do, you got to try to mix up some exposure a little bit and stay relatively close to ADP in these early rounds.
Of course.
I'm in the mud right now, 12 picks from my pick, praying for somebody to get back. Sam, what were you just going to say?
I took Breece Hall because I keep seeing Breece Hall fall into this, later 4th round. And it kind of sticks out to me because, that's a guy that we can almost expect, will take over the early down role immediately in New York with their, their heavy. Too. Yeah, and passing too. I still think Michael Carter plays a big role in the first month of the season, but I think as the season goes along, Breece weans more and more and more work over there. So I think Brees at 407 is a great pick. I think he'll end up a lot higher than a lot of people have him ranked right now.
Yeah, and I love my Travis Etienne pick, but I picked him a full round ahead, and I don't know that the upside is completely different between a Travis Etienne and a Brees Hall. I prefer Etienne, I picked him a round ahead, but I don't think that the upside's that different. So I think you got a good value on Brees Hall.
Absolutely. Let's see. Patrick Mahomes still on the board, end of the 4th round. That's a little bit interesting there. I think people are finally starting to, catch into the groupthink that we've been preaching all offseason that, Mahomes, I think Mahomes is going to be just fine. I think the problem is you're not going to see many spike weeks, which definitely plays into a part on Underdog. When we're looking for guys who can have the most upside there. Patrick Mahomes definitely, while he projects as a very safe asset, just doesn't really move the needle for me there. Mies took DK, who I was going to take here because I know Dave being behind me would like to target DK there. I think DK is being very disrespected in those best ball streets right now. Let's see.
Patrick Mahomes still on the board.
Yeah. Yes,
I think he might go right here. We've got someone with no quarterbacks coming up, Mr. Extra Point FF, Ben. Let's see what he's going to do.
I think a big reason, and I was just talking about this again earlier on the show that I was at, but the reason that you see these guys, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, the reason they're getting drafted as high as they do has less to do with their individual talent and more with the opportunities to stack with early guys like Travis Kelce and Stephon Diggs. I think that's the only reason that their value is as high as it is. Come redraft season, those guys will be getting drafted much, much later with people putting such a big importance on stacking. And then you've got the, correlation with the Cincinnati Bengals with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Mixon all going early. I think that's what's pushing Patrick Mahomes specifically up draft boards.
Sam, yeah. You took Rashad Bateman right in front of me like an asshole.
I mean, I am also similarly high.
I was a little bit worried of that.
Bateman's been one of my bigger targets as he kind of, is a guy that we can project to have a solid role. And I really like, Bateman out of that group of wide receivers there. Considering how I feel about Chris Godwin. I wonder what happens to Amari Cooper now. Dave, what do you think about Amari Cooper? Like, how does he fare out this season? Say, like we all think at this point, Deshaun Watson misses the season. How does Amari Cooper fare out?
He's going to fall outside of the top 30 wide receivers, assuming Jacoby Brissett is the week 1 starter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, the problem there is, Cooper has never been a terribly consistent guy either. And I think, a lot of the reason people were drafting him as a top 20 asset is because Deshaun Watson being there is such a good quarterback, despite who he is as a person. And Cooper just is going to tumble down rankings. Now, I wouldn't be surprised to see him fall into the 8th or 9th round.
And we've got a comment here from Toronto Dave asking to let him know when Amon-Ra St. Brown goes. Based on ADP right now, there's 3 players ahead of him. He could go pretty soon. So I guess we'll how does this affect Amon-Ra St. Brown is what Dave's asking. So I guess we'll explain that.
Well, there he goes.
There you go.
Jay, I'm sorry. I got two guys sitting in my queue right now, and regardless of who I take, it's going to be a dagger in your heart.
Well, I figured one. I figured one. Yep, I figured one.
I almost went Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith there. I love stacking those 2 guys at this 5-6 turn. People are sleeping on Devonta Smith.
I was going to say I still might take Devonta Smith right here, even though
I was going to take one or the other. I had them both queued up, and I slightly prefer Jalen Hurts, but
as long as
I love
football,
both of those guys of value this year.
Yeah,
as long as football doesn't do what I'm afraid he's going to do.
Dave, what are some of your later stacks that you've really liked? Maybe some of the more low key ones. I guess you call it sleeper for what it is.
My favorite thing to do is pull off the Davis Mills, Nico Collins stack in the 17th, 18th round. Yes. I actually just recorded a video earlier today saying there is some value to be found in the Houston Texans offense. Another one that I really like though, and try not to let my fandom get in the way here, but Justin Fields and Cole Kmet, getting those guys in the 10th and 13th round. mind blown to me. Alan Lazard and Aaron Rodgers, you can get those guys in the 9th and 10th round back to back. That's a really fun one. You know, I'm not somebody that really likes straying from ADP early in drafts, like I said. So a lot of the stacks that I attack are typically later on, unless one really just falls into my lap. So Cole Kmet and Justin Fields, though, I'm super bullish on both of those guys. Not really the Bears offense as a whole, but those two guys specifically, I think, are fantastic values.
Sam, was I not irrationally upset yesterday when I missed out on a Nico Collins Davis Mills stack?
Yes, you were irrationally upset. I supported it because you know I am a fan of Davis Mills. So I support that unhealthy habit for all three of us. Dave, are you still down the rabbit hole with the Houston Texans offense? Do you need some water down there? Are you okay?
No, and that's what I already recorded a video on it. I mean, I just think that Brandon Cooks is a huge value. Davis Mills, Nico Collins are huge values. You can also say the same about Brevin Jordan. But Jay, the trick is if you take Nico Collins first, somebody's going to snipe you on Davis Mills in the 18th round. So what you do is you take Davis Mills in the 18th, and then that way you're guaranteed to get either Nico Collins, or if somebody snipes you on him, Brevin Jordan is a good fallback in the 18th.
It's a good point. That is a good point. Somebody's less likely to take the naked Nico Collins, I guess, than they are.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree. Thank you for that. I needed to hear that.
The big thing that jumped out for me recently was the comps to rookie Nico Collins and rookie Michael Pittman. I mean, these guys are the same height, ran the same 40 time. They both missed 3 games in their rookie season. They both had exactly 61 targets their rookie season. They both finished the year as the wide receiver to put up nearly identical per game production last season. And, you know, it's just so easy to see the writing on the wall that Nico Collins steps into a bigger role this year. Maybe I'm just trying to, you know, trap lightning in a bottle again because I was all in on Pittman last year and it hit. But, man, the similarities with Nico Collins are there.
Yeah, Ben's getting off right now to this Nico Collins love. Ben loves him. Ben's got a signed Nico Collins helmet, actually, a signed Michigan Nico Collins helmet from Pristine Auction.
That's fandom. That's fandom right there.
It's commitment. Nico Collins is that type of guy, though. You know, he's always had the talent. It's, you know, about putting it all together. But I mean, he's got it all, and he's got the size, he's got the talent. Apparently, he's looked really good in camp too. So you know.
Yeah, I heard that. And Nico Collins was a guy that I really liked, and so many people were off on him just because the whole Michigan. The Michigan thing is that they don't produce great wide receivers, and they haven't in years. But Nico Collins really kind of looks like like Dave said, Pittman is a real comparison there. It's not something I thought of, but I kind of love it when I'm thinking about it. So let's see if he can put some numbers out there. And the 18th round is a steal, I think, for someone with his kind of alpha style of play, though.
Sure, I just busted somebody's stack with that Russell Wilson pick, but you know, getting Wilson a half round after ADP, I'm pretty happy. Even with no stacks, having Jalen Hurts and Russell Wilson as my QBs here. And the thing, you know, we talked about stacking to start the show, didn't get too deeply into it. Obviously, when you're looking in the big tournaments, you want to really focus on stacking. But when I'm doing these sit and goes, I could care less about stacking. You're trying to get the most points over the entire season. Stacking really isn't that important to me. I'm just kind of scooping up value here. Oh,
yeah. And there it is, right in front of Dave. We always look for it right in front of Dave Kluge. Alan Lazard goes. Ooh, that must be a dagger to the heart, Dave. I see him pouting over there.
This is my consolation prize. Anytime I miss out on Lazard, I just take Kadarius Toney.
I like Kadarius Toney, and you know, look, I try not to talk myself into the Giants. Partially of being an Eagles fan, and partially of just, you know, knowing what to expect. But I have to say, I'm intrigued by what Brian Dable can do over there. You know, because look, you know, Freddie Kitchens and Jason Garrett, they don't do anything. So, you know, we could definitely see Kadarius Toney move out. It just depends on how he's used this year.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Caruso pointed it out recently, but with the yards per route run and the target share that he commanded, he falls into a class of exactly 8 players in NFL history that have hit those numbers, and all 8 of them have produced top 5 fantasy seasons.
That's good.
I actually hate my last pick, and having to pick Christian Kirk there doesn't feel sexy, but I'm looking at the options. He looks like maybe the only one left that could be the number 1 option in his offense, aside from DeAndre Hopkins, who's going to miss some time. But I have Travis Etienne, I have Christian Kirk. I might be able to get a late Trevor Lawrence. That would be a fun stack there with, you know, potentially a 3-headed monster in Jacksonville. I can't believe that sentence just came out of my mouth, but we'll see. So
I may snipe you. I may snipe you just to spite you on that.
I was gonna say,
I was gonna
yeah,
take
I
Christian
guess we'll
Kirk
see.
as well there.
Oh, okay. So you hate me for a different reason than you hate the pick
Yes,
because of the value.
absolutely.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yes, absolutely. Oh no, I love the value. Just hate you for taking my guy there.
I can deal with you hating me. That happens most podcasts.
Let's see. Stafford goes off the board to Josh Cho. Ooh, this is interesting. It is interesting. Let's see. Something I definitely think is interesting when looking at these best ball drafts as well is, how do you know when to take multiple tight ends? Like, how do you know when you're good with 2 tight ends? How do you know when you're good with 3, Dave? Where do you draw the line?
If I get a top 5 tight end, then I take a second tight end. If I don't get a top 5 tight end, then I draft 3. I keep it pretty simple.
Yeah, I think that's interesting as well because I mean, like you said, in these we're kind of just looking for total points. It's nice to have as many options as possible, even if you don't have the stacking concerns. But I definitely think correlating still is still good there. Let's see, can I? Oh, I can. Ooh. And this crop of 10th round, late 9th, early 10th round running backs is always so brutal to look at when you see Melvin Gordon, Devin Singletary, and James Cook flash upon your screen, and you only have 2 running backs. You're in trouble.
I'm a little happy to go with my heavy RB build that you were making fun of me for before the show. I know that's not maybe a little uncharacteristic, but I got Saquon, Etienne, Antonio Gibson. I don't feel so bad about it right now. There's still some wide receivers to pound value on.
I mean, for me, I'm happy to take Devin Singletary. That's my guy. I still think he's the RB1 in Buffalo. And I don't think James Cook affects his carries workload that much. So I'm comfortable there. I still think he gets, 200 plus carries. So I'm okay with that.
Ooh, Chase Claypool, 2 picks before me.
I like the team that Dave is building here. He's got proven producers at every position. Even like you said, not worrying about the stacking, doesn't put too much of an emphasis in it in the sit and goes. I think that's perfectly fine in a case like this.
Typically, what I like to do is get early on. I like to get the like you said, the proven guys, and that's what I've got so far. And then I'll start really throwing my darts late. I already started with one with Kadarius Toney. Maybe I'll get sniped here by saying this out loud, but I got Garrett Wilson, Rondale Moore, and Christian Watson just went. I had all 3 of those guys queued up as well. So this is when I'll start taking the high upside guys.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect place to start taking those guys, and basically just throwing dart throws to try and get that highest point total possible that we can. Let's see.
I did pull off a little quiet stack after going Davante Adams in the first round. I did get Derek Carr. I picked him ahead of Aaron Rodgers, so I mean the mistress before the. Let me think. Let's go.
Yeah, I kind of screwed up. I meant to have Derek Carr queued up there for a Renfro stack and completely missed it, and I got punished for it. And that's my own fault.
Not to toot my own horn. I think Chase Edmonds is going a little bit later than he deserves to go. Any thoughts on that? I think the upside for Chase Edmonds in the role and kind of what he's getting paid in Miami. No, Dave shaking his head. I think Chase
Sony
Edmonds
Michel, danger.
Get out of here.
Get out. I mean, I just don't think Chase Edmonds is that good. I mean, you look at his yards per carry. That's what gets people so excited. But he took almost all of his snaps against a soft front last year. When you look at the makeups, age, height, weight, BMI, draft capital, just about everything, he is a carbon copy of Myles Gaskin. And the one thing in an outside zone scheme that you need more than anything is top end speed. And Chase Edmonds doesn't have top end speed. And that's kind of the concern last year is, Trey Sermon got drafted into this outside zone scheme. And he's a very good runner between the tackles, but he doesn't have the high end speed. And he ended up losing the job to Elijah Moore. I think there's a very good chance that Chase Edmonds isn't able to secure that top role, especially, Sony Michel, not as crazy about him. Raheem Mostert is the guy who has blazing speed, familiarity with the offense. I think that he gets first crack at the starting job. The good thing going for Chase Edmonds is that Raheem Mostert can't stay healthy, so he might get his opportunity. But I think Mostert is the guy with the highest ceiling in this offense.
That was what I was going to bring up too. I hate to fall back on the injury, way out pretty
but
much.
this man really is hurt all the time.
But Raheem
Yeah,
Mostert's
he
a different example. And, I mean, Chase Edmonds was one of the first kind of big signings that, they made when McDaniel got to Miami. So hoping that that's going to be
But yeah,
congratulations, Jordan.
Yes, congratulations, Jordan, as well. Let's see. Yeah, I do like Mostert's opportunity cost for this offense. If he manages to stay healthy, that's very, very good for him. But again, would be extremely surprising if he manages to stay healthy longer than a month and a half, honestly. Let's see.
Miss Fields finally going. Who took him?
Me.
Nice.
Sam heard you talking about the Fields commit stack, and he jumped right on it.
Yeah, 10 spots ahead of ADP.
That is not true. I just didn't want to get left in the dust, and I don't want any part of Kirk Cousins.
That works too.
I almost, I like a naked Fields doesn't hurt. You don't need to stack with Fields. We already know he's going to run a ton, so I'm okay with that there. Let's see.
Oh, I can't wait for this next pick to get to me. He has been somebody for over 2 years now that I've been drooling over on all my Dynasty podcasts and Dynasty shows.
I think I just took him. Did I just take him?
Oh, my God. Jacoby Myers right there, right in front of me.
Right.
So I'm going to have to take Kendrick Bourne later, my other guy. All right.
Well,
there goes Tim Patrick. I was hoping I'd get some sort of stack here after just completely foregoing him, but Tim Patrick. I was hoping to link him up with Russell Wilson. Sounds like
you can always get KJ Hamler later, or Alberto.
We'll see. I want nothing to do with Alberto.
Oh, whoa.
Poor KJ Hamler. Really, really.
Almost auto-drafted there, but, I got in the Jahan Dotson pick right before the clock went. And see how
I like
goes.
that. I've
been making a fun comp about it, and let me know if you guys can relate to it at all. But
I
don't remember if you remember 2019 AJ Brown, when AJ Brown was working with the twos with Ryan Tannehill because Mariota was supposed to be the starter, and then when AJ Brown started playing right away, AJ Brown and Tannehill had a lot of chemistry together because they were working together all summer. And it's kind of what I've been thinking about Jahan Dotson to an extent. I think him and Carson Wentz got a little bit of time while Terry McLaurin was out of town. So I think Jahan Dotson could be a little bit ahead of schedule.
Dave did
that's
not
exactly
get
what happened
Lamar
last
Jackson.
year with Darnell Mooney.
Yeah,
that's what happened last year with Darnell Mooney as well. Darnell Mooney had that offseason, where he was just working out with Justin Fields nonstop, and when Justin Fields took over, he just blew up.
Totally,
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think Fields just gets such a bad rap. They're hanging him out to dry, but he's got. I mean, the quality of target wasn't great last year between him and Mooney, but I feel like with Fields, they reported his throwing motion's gotten a little bit smoother. I got a lot more hope for the offense around him. I think him and Mooney could have a really good year this year. Let's see. Still got to take a fourth running back. Okay, I'll default to my guy here. Frank Reich says we're going to see a lot of Nyheim Hines this season. I'm going to take Nyheim Hines there.
I'm on 3 quarterbacks now, which I wasn't necessarily planning to do at the beginning. I got Lamar Jackson, hoping to maybe get a Rashad Bateman involved. But I have Lamar Jackson, and then I have Derek Carr with Devontae Adams, and then Trevor Lawrence with my Christian Kirk ETN stack. So I feel good about it, but the 3 quarterbacks went a little bit, earlier than I thought. I didn't think I was going to come out with that. I was kind of hoping to get that Davis Mills Nico stack we were talking about later on, but
I still like your team in this spot, Jay. I think that's a good option.
Thank you, Sam. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Well, I gotta space things out. Otherwise, it'll look like I'm being, too nice and too friendly. I gotta keep up the exterior. Let's see. Ooh. Man, I cannot get myself to draft Van Jefferson no matter what.
Meese in the chat says he has Hines Ward queued up. Dave, was that you that took Hines Ward?
No, Hines Ward has been retired for about 6 years.
Nyheim Hines.
Yes, I took Hines.
Yeah, I think Hines, everybody, I still think Jonathan Taylor is going to be, a workhorse by all intents and purposes. But Nyheim Hines, I don't know what it is. He just seems like a guy that is going to just connect with Matt Ryan. Carson Wentz doesn't really have that soft touch on his passes. He doesn't like to check down all that often. Matt Ryan is the complete opposite. So, I mean, we saw Hines boom 2 years ago, and then he had a relatively quiet season last year with Naheem or with Carson Wentz. And now when you look at just the play style of Matt Ryan, he's much more similar
Phillip
to what we saw
Rivers.
2 years ago with Phillip Rivers. Exactly. So I'm expecting a lot of checkdowns heading Naheem Hines' way.
It's not crazy how our football heads go that way. We have so many so many names jammed in our heads from the last couple decades of watching football that they all start to mash together at some point.
Yep. Naheem Hines Ward.
Naheem Hines Ward. I'd probably rather take Hines Ward, if he was back in here. So it is what it is.
That dude was a dog. He was one of my favorite
miss
players.
Hines Ward. Yeah, he was so fun to watch.
One of my friends is a Lions fan, was just kind of making that comp to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He was like, I hope he can ideally turn out to be like a Hines Ward type.
Wasn't Hines Ward like 240 pounds too? Wasn't Hines Ward like 240 pounds too?
I don't think he was quite that big.
He was heavy though, right?
Looking it up right now. I mean, I guess he was around 220. 205. He was only 6 foot. That's the thing. He wasn't that tall.
Something with those
205. I mean, that's an early down running back build.
Yeah, it is. Something with those Pittsburgh players. They like them big and beefy. Him, Bus, Ben. They like them. They like them to be able to take a hit. You got it with that style of Pittsburgh.
Well, I said I wanted nothing to do with Alberto, but if he's going to slide this far and I got Russ Wilson, why not? Got to draft him somewhere.
Ben with a good comment here for the Amon-Ra Hines Ward comp, saying Randall L is his wide receiver coach. That is a funny comparison. Maybe Randall L could get him to throw some passes too.
Antoine Randall L has the best passer rating in NFL history.
Yep, that's one of my favorite things about him.
Not? It's perfect, isn't it? It's close to perfect. Yeah,
I'm heading in around 14 here, and I've still only got 2 running backs. But when you start off with 2 anchors like Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Swift, I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, you're fine. You got go-to running back Kenneth Gainwell coming right up on you there.
That's who I'm hoping for. Link him up with Jalen Hurts.
So he's right in front of me there.
Exactly who I'm hoping for. I'm not
and he's going to put the dagger in Jay's heart.
I was just going to say,
again.
you better pray, and then you're right in front of me. So.
Sorry, Jay. But Gainwell is one of my favorite targets. I mean, this is what I do.
Yeah.
I don't like those mid-round running backs all that much. So what I've been doing is trying to get, 2 running backs within the first 4 rounds. And then this is where I hammer running backs. Khalil Herbert, Naheem Hines, Kenneth Gainwell. It just seems like there's a lot of value and upside built into these mid to late rounds. Darrell Williams is another guy. His ADP has really started creeping up recently, but he was a guy that I couldn't get enough of.
Yeah, I just did, 2 back-to-back picks. I took Josh Palmer and then Van Jefferson, 2 guys that aren't my favorite, but they're both in potentially high-scoring offenses, could have some boom weeks there. So I kind of like having, both of them to combat some of my other wide receivers.
I feel like they're like, I get those guys confused all the time. Both being in Los Angeles, the wide receiver 3s in Los Angeles, but yeah, they're both going to be due for a handful of big games this year. So I don't hate them. And drafting both of them is just kind of fun, hope that they alternate their boom weeks.
I kind of thought the same thing right when I picked Van Jefferson after picking Palmer. I was like, I kind of feel like I picked the same guy, but I don't hate it. So
I didn't really want to take Gerald Everett there, but I didn't really feel like I had a choice there. I needed a second tight end.
I love Gerald Everett in Los Angeles. I mean, it seems like the Chargers, going back to like the Antonio Gates days, they've just done nothing but produce fantasy relevant wide receivers, whether it was Jared Cook or I can't even remember the other guys. But yeah, I like that pick. And there's going to be more than enough touchdowns to go around to support like 5 or 6 fantasy options in Los Angeles.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty set in my thinking that Herbert's the QB2 or better. I think he's going to absolutely light it up this year. All righty. Let's see.
And we got in the comments, Josh, Green Bay wide receiver 1, Sammy Watkins.
Don't say that in front of Dave.
Week 1, wide receiver 1, Sammy Watkins.
Yes, wide receiver 1 overall, Sammy Watkins. Alec Pierce still being on the board is interesting to me. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me. I loved his profile coming out when I looked at him in the NFL draft. He's got a pretty good reception perception profile as a guy who's a very solid deep threat target. With Pittman kind of opening up like the middle, playing kind of possession receiver role, I think Alec Pierce could be very interesting in year 1. Still kind of surprising to see him on the board this late.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I've skipped over him a couple times, so it's tough for me to say. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think the upside is there. There's some people going to be touting Paris Campbell and some other guys in that offense. But aside from Michael Pittman, I don't really know that anybody's certain there. So I think Alec Pierce does have an opportunity for sure.
Yeah.
I think people last year, they just see that, like, Michael Pittman was the only producer in the receiving game there, and they think that's how it's going to be this year. But the upgrade from Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan cannot be understated enough. I mean, this is going to go from being a pretty one-dimensional offense with Carson Wentz to suddenly being like a real NFL offense with a fantastic run game, arguably the best offensive line in the league, and more than just Michael Pittman in the passing game.
Totally.
Yep.
I'm about to reach on this next one if it gets to me. But I love him for best ball. I love him in general, but I love him for best ball even more because I think there's going to be a lot of upside if he gets the opportunities.
Am I right?
A little bit of a reach, but I feel good about it, man. I think
you need to stop spending so much time around each other.
There I go. I went from no stacks to Russell Wilson with KJ Hamler and Albert O.
Look at that. What a studly stack. You don't even need Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy there.
Wandale, in my short experience of best ball so far, like I said, more of a dynasty guy getting into the best ball, but Wandale I have 100% exposure to in my league. So at this point, I love to take him, man. I just think he's got more upside than a lot of the receivers on the board.
After getting burned by Rondale Moore last year, it's really hard for me to invest in a guy that's that small.
Very
I mean, we hear it all the time. You see these freak athletes that are massive producers in college, and then they just hit the pros and just flame out. It's scary.
Yeah. There's the dad joke right here, Josh, with in your short experience after I picked Wandale. He never misses, man. He's always on those.
King of dad jokes right there. He
seriously is.
Quietly getting the high stack over here. Does Ben have what's his name? Does Ben have Goff? Was he the guy? Yeah, he was the guy who took Goff about 2 rounds ahead of ADP. There you go, Ben.
Yeah, I'll put my money where my mouth is. I was talking about how I think Raheem Mostert's going to run away with the job. I'll take him in the 16th round here.
I'm going to go with J.D. McKissick here.
And you see how I complete my Bengals stack in a couple of rounds.
I didn't necessarily mean to get Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick, but I kind of feel like week to week that is the frustration of that backfield is that it could be a J.D. McKissick week, it could be an Antonio Gibson week. So why not get both of them here at this sort of value?
Might as well just draft Brian Robinson and Jarrett Patterson too, and just have all the boxes checked.
Yeah, just in case. Yeah.
I'm not expecting too much from Brian Robinson, and that seemed to be one of the big talking points on Twitter today. I just, don't see him cutting into Antonio Gibson's workload substantially. Gibson is a great athlete. He did good with the volume he had last year. He was playing on a freaking broken shin and still was productive. I think Robinson is there to take away some, situational passing downs, but I think Gibson's still the guy.
Yeah, the talk seemed to be almost centered around Antonio Gibson's ball security issues, which, that could be a problem, but I mean, it's also something that he could work on. And I agree with you. I just think he's so much more talented than Brian Robinson is that I think there would have to be an Antonio Gibson injury to really give him a role. I think, come in and, take Antonio Gibson off the rest for a little bit, get some water, but, I don't think he's going to necessarily take his job by any.
The other thing, and, I was really big on McKissick, prior to the Carson Wentz trade earlier this offseason when he was still kind of out in free agency just because of the way that he profiles. But like we talked earlier, Nyheim Hines was a beast in 2019. Then Carson Wentz shows up and he's basically non-existent. And now J.D. McKissick, who has had 2 straight years where he's racked up a ton of points, especially in PPR leagues, is he going to get completely nuked now with Carson Wentz in town?
Yeah, that's not a bad point. Yeah, I think that there's a chance of that. But I also feel like, dude, I mean, I don't know if you heard the kind of narratives behind that. I'm sure you did. When, the issues between the Bills front office now and the Washington front office caused by this J.D. McKissick signing or lack of a signing, I think meant something. Brandon Beane in Buffalo literally said, it's going to be a fracture in their relationship now, the way that the J.D. McKissick thing went down. And I feel like for that to happen between 2 organizations, they must have really fought to get J.D. McKissick back. So I feel like there has to be some sort of role for him there. And I'm a little bit of a narrative guy, so I buy into some of that stuff from time to time. But to see a GM come out and say that, I think was interesting. To say that, that is going to fracture our relationship.
Yep. And I'm with you, man. Narratives, I feel like there's so much gold to be found if you can just learn to decipher narratives and read between the lines and understand coach speak and know beat reporter tendencies. If you can start to figure those things out, that gives you such a huge edge.
Totally. I mean, you can't believe it all, but
Absolutely.
like that, when a GM comes out and says something that strong when they really don't, I think there is something to be said about it.
Sam, I'm just looking at the board here, and I think you're just messing with me at this point. Did you just take Nico Collins in the 16th round as your wide receiver 8?
Yes.
I mean,
I
you're
don't.
just sabotaging your
I'm
own
just
team
filling.
despite me at this point.
I'm just filling out the team at this point, and I'm having fun. And I'm
Sam
about to
heard Ben's
do.
got a signed helmet, and he went all in.
No, I told you. I like Nico Collins. I don't know why I'm getting attacked for liking Nico Collins over here when I'm about to draft Chris Evans 2 rounds ahead of ADP to complete my Bengals stack. I'm just having fun. The 17th and 18th rounds are to have fun and, fill out places. Chris Evans is a guy that I think actually does take over some of the passing down work in Cincinnati this season. There's been some rumblings that the coaching staff was not pleased that Joe Mixon was literally on the field like 85% of the time. Scale it back a little bit, keep him healthy. Chris Evans over Samaje Perine, one of the more athletic guys at that position. I love him. And I took him over my boy Foreman, who I know you are not a big fan of, Dave, but of Deontay Foreman.
That's who I had queued up. He's one of my favorite guys. I was all in on him last year. He was the reason I put Thick Boy Stan in my bio for a while there. I was
we're thinking of dude, why do I always get Deontay Foreman and Dontrell Hilliard confused?
Yeah, no, I can't stand Dontrell Hilliard.
Yeah. I always get them confused because they both played on Tennessee last year.
No, Deontay Foreman was my boy. That was one of my biggest calls last year. The day that he signed with Tennessee, I told everyone to go out and get Deontay Foreman, and he ended up being a league winner for a lot of people.
Yeah, he did. He looked good.
Deontay Foreman as well on a lot of my teams last year.
I had him on a few.
Yeah, I mean, he was such a baller at Texas. It was so sad what happened to him in the first place. Let's see.
I was actually excited when he signed with Atlanta in the offseason when that depth chart was wide open. I don't know if you guys remember, he had a cup of tea in Atlanta. And that was when everyone still thought Javian Hawkins was going to be the guy, or Quadre Olison, or was it going to be Mike Davis? I wasn't buying into any of those guys. And, I did the right thing by fading all of them. The only problem was I thought it was going to be Deontay Foreman, and then he was cut. And then I thought it was going to be Wayne Gallman. Kind of changed quickly right after week 1 when I saw Cordell Patterson's usage and bought in on him. But, that was one of my better calls last year as well, was just fading everybody in that Atlanta backfield.
Yeah.
I took a little bit of a homer pick there, taking Quez Watkins at this point, but another guy who's pumping up the camp right now. And, when you do watch a team as much as, I watch the Eagles, and, Quez Watkins is that type of guy that can have a boom week, off one big play. So I like him there.
No, I thought about taking Quez there just because I've got Hurts.
Yeah. I completed the Mills Nico stack. Completed. Goal completed. The entire goal for this draft was to take Nico Collins a whole round and a half early and draft Davis Mills in round 18 to correlate it. I mean, this draft has been an absolute blast. Look, do we have anything to say, Dave? Any pearls of wisdom to impart before we kind of go back to everything? What do you guys think about your teams?
Yeah, I've done so many of these. They all start looking the same at a certain point, just gobbling up value. One of my things that I've been doing this year is just trying to get 2 of the early quarterbacks. And, it might be a little, losing out on some expected value there by paying up for 2 quarterbacks. But I feel like when you got Jalen Hurts and Russell Wilson, you can't go wrong with 2 guys like that. So I've rarely been dipping further than Justin Fields. Justin Fields is kind of my tipping point. I don't like going below there. We'll see if that ends up biting me. But, I'm happy with how this one turned out.
Jay, what about you?
Yeah, I'm happy. Right at the beginning, I took Davante Adams over Dalvin Cook. We talked about it a little bit. I said hopefully I would be able to make up for it later on. I did come out with Saquon, Etienne, Gibson, Edmonds, who maybe I'm a little bit more high on than the rest of the party here. Came out with some fun stacks that I enjoyed, that weren't too expensive, with the Trevor Lawrence, Etienne, Christian Kirk. That's almost, their whole offense, kind of the ones of that offense. Derek Carr I stacked with Davante Adams, so I felt good about that. And Lamar Jackson, who I was hoping to get some more Ravens on my team, but Lamar, can't have a better quarterback for some boom weeks than Lamar Jackson. And Wandale Robinson, who I snuck in there as well, who Dave called. So I'm happy with my team. I think I had a good draft, but I think after the draft, typically you think you had a good draft. So
yeah, I mean, I liked mine. I was glad to be able to get Burrow and Chase stacked in there early, rounded that out with Chris Evans, who again I reached on, but again doesn't matter in the 17th round. Getting the Nico Collins, Davis Mills stack, always a fun goal there to wrap up that very ugly stack at the end of the lineup. But Dave, thank you once again for coming on. Always a blast to hop on shows with you, my man. Why don't you go ahead and remind everyone where they can find you and any cool stuff you're working on right now?
Yeah, couldn't be simpler. Just find me on Twitter at Dave Kluge, and I share all of my content there. You can find all of my written and video content at footballguys.com. Really just drop me a follow at Dave Kluge, and you'll see everything I'm up to.
Absolutely. And we got some really cool stuff coming out of Football Guys next couple months. Make sure you guys tune in over the summer. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of High Floor Football. We will see you guys next